I mean, getting URL started, you know what I mean, was, I wouldn't say difficult, but it was definitely a test. It was definitely, you know, had to use some brain power. You know, we just kind of came up with the concept of it and how we wanted it to be first. And then we started to, you know, from that point moving forward, you know, once we knew how we wanted it to look, how we wanted it to be, you know, we just figured out the place, we found a location, we found a spot, we came up with a style and a concept, and we put the MCs in play that we wanted to use. We wanted to project a certain style of MC battling. You know what I mean? There's tons and tons of styles of battling. And I know people try to say, oh, it's all the same. It's not. You know what I mean? You have different individuals. It's just like there's different types of rap music, there's different types of country music. Everybody comes from a different perspective, a different background, and they have different interests, and they talk about different things. You know what I mean? That relate to them. You know what I mean? You can have guys that are from overseas, or guys that are from the suburbs, or guys that are from the street, and we can all have the same types of experiences, you know what I mean, and go through different things in life, but you know, certain people are going to connect with others because that's part of their particular experience. And we didn't feel like our experience and the type of MC battling that we liked was being demonstrated at that time. So that's why we got the guys from the URL, and we picked certain guys from other places, you know what I'm saying, like DNA, who we picked up later, and Cortez, who we picked up later, were battling in grind time at the time. But they weren't really getting the attention that they deserved, you know what I mean? Poison Pen was doing his best to try to get them out there, but they weren't being acknowledged by the West Coast, who was like the main, you know, force in grind time at that time. So, you know, those are two guys that we felt that we used, but the rest were all smack-based artists, or guys that we got referrals from, like Calico, you know, came from Midwest Miles, guys we had relationships with.
Some like Lions Den cats.
Right, Lions Den, you know what I mean? It's like, I feel like Lions Den was like, it's our lineage, you know what I mean? It's part of our lineage because, you know, people don't realize that Loaded Lux's last battle, prior to him battling at Summer Madness 2, was at Black Star Video on Smack DVD. And we actually were the first people to ever do a battle there. It was the first week that Black Star Video opened. We went there and we shot the battle. You know what I mean? And then from that point on, he had contacted us. He said, yo, I'm thinking about doing something. We were actually still doing Smack. We trying to take it online. So he started doing the Lions Den. You know what I mean? The Lions Den basically had the same energy as like Smack battles. You know what I mean? And Lux, coming from that era, is picking and pulling together the MCs that he felt represented that type of vibe and that type of feel. So Lux did a great job with Lions Den, you know what I mean? And then, you know, when he went off and started to focus more on his career and wasn't really doing the Lions Den anymore, those were guys that we felt were good. So we brought them to the light, you know what I'm saying, and tried to put some focus on them. So, you know what I mean? But just getting the cameras right, getting the angles right, research. We went and found some guys that worked at BET, you know what I mean? And we hired them, you know, we hired the Wild, you know, we brought in the guys with the lavalier mics, and, you know, we set it up, and we went to like a big recording studio in Lower Manhattan, you know what I mean? And we did the first URL.